So the following video is about understanding how the scaffolded program for prom sheets works. So what I want to do is outline each of the grades and how they're scaffolded. So on your screen, what you will see is you'll see the grade 9 prom sheet as well as the grade 10 prom sheet. So on the right hand side are the restrictions. So this is what a student is allowed or is not allowed to put on the sheet. So for grade 9, what we have is we have submitted 2 days in advance of the test. If you'll notice, this is the same in grade 10, and it will be the same in grade 11 and grade 12. This is important because in university, many of the prom sheets required for exam time or large semester tests actually need to be submitted to professors 7 days in advance of the exam or the test. So ours is 2 days in advance of the test, and our students do know that they must submit this to their teacher to get approved, and that's what the approval line is for. The second thing in the math prom sheet is only 2 examples are allowed. And this is important because in university, no examples will be allowed. So what we want to do is we want to start off slowly in grade 9, allow a few examples, and then as that moves into grade 10, notice we reduce that. Only 1 example is allowed. What is also allowed are formulas and equations, and this is pretty standard in most university math courses. The formulas and equations are often given to students. So this is a standard that you will see both in the 9, the 10, 11, and the 12. Now, something that we've tailored specific for the 9s and 10s are the definition of terms. So for example, a rate of change, M is equal to a rate of change. So identifying the variables, because again, that can be stressful on memory. Now there's 2 ways to do it. In grade 9, we will allow the phrase, and I've put an example here as in a memory cue, the rate of change. So the slope is kind of like a mountain. So it's an easy way to remember rate of change. Notice, however, in the grade 10 prom sheet, the phrase is not recommended. We really want to push memory cues. So one might be a picture of a mountain if you're a visual person, and the other one might be RI over RU. So it could easily symbolize rise over run. So that's an interesting way of identifying slope. The other thing that we've included is the definition of math vocabulary. A lot of times word problems have language that needs to be, for lack of a better word, translated into math. So for example, sum means add, less means minus. So in the grade 9, we allow both the phrases and the memory cues. In the grade 10, we really just want to see the memory cues. So again, in the grade 9, acronyms and mnemonics are allowed at all times. So BEDMAS, SOHCAHTOA, etc. And then visual cues. Notice this, without really understanding the process, one wouldn't know what this means. So those are allowable in both grades. So let's take a look at how this is different from grade 11. Well, here's the grade 11 prom sheet. Once again, submitted 2 days in advance of the test. Notice, however, we do not want examples. We want to pull students away from examples so that they really understand the basic logic of math. However, they are allowed to have equations and formula. So, for example, your decay or rate of increase right here. And definition of terms. Once again, we limit it to memory cues. What we have is the original, and then, so this is a rate of decay, the original, and then after time has passed, what's left over. So those pictures tend to help us understand what the variables mean. Acronyms and mnemonics, always allowable. SOHCAHTOA is a good one to remember trigonometry. And then again, visual cues. Sign law here, this is quite a big help because it helps you understand the marriages. So let me just go back for a sec. So that's the difference here. So that it becomes continually restricted as the grades move forward. So then what does that look like in grade 12? Well, same type of thing. Now, what we have here, and you might wonder, well, why are you allowed one example in grade 12 when you're allowed no examples in grade 11? What we've done is we've created a math prompt sheet specifically for our students moving into grade 12 this year. And we do not want to pull away all of the supports they've been using. Now, they have been putting examples on their prompt sheets in previous years. So to say to these students, no, you're not allowed any examples would be highly unfair. That's the way they have been studying. That's the way they have been using their prompt sheets. So our solution for that is to allow one example. The example, obviously, they feel is the most important. This will change in the year after because our grade 11s will have experienced, if you remember, will have experienced the no examples prompt sheets. So then when they get to grade 12, they will not be allowed an example. But we don't want to pull away all those supports for our current grade 12s who are coming into grade 12 this year. Again, formula and equations allowable, memory cues for what the term means, the mnemonics, and the visual cues. Notice this is very pictorial. If you had a chance to look at the university example prompt sheets that are on the SMORE, again, same type of thing, very pictorial. It's supposed to be that one thing that then cues you to how to proceed. So once we look at the math, for example, and the scaffolding. So here's our grade 9s. We're allowing 2 examples, our grade 10s 1 example, our grade 11s none. For this year, our grade 12s will be allowed 1, but once this year is done, what we're focusing on is these 4 columns. Notice no examples in grade 11 and grade 12. Our grade 9s, again, look at this. Equations and formulae are allowed all years. So relying on that and really understanding those formulas will be helpful for students. In our definition of the terms or the variables, what we're allowing in grade 9 is phrases and memory cues. We really want to push the memory cues in grade 10. We prefer the memory cues in grade 11, and in grade 12, only memory cues. For our definition of vocabulary, phrases or memory cues, grade 10, memory cues only, grade 11, notice, and grade 12, not at all. So the assumption is through practice, through continual work, we understand that some means add, that less means minus, etc. But notice your acronyms and your visual cues are allowed in all years. So once again, formula, acronyms, mnemonics, visual cues, these are something that you can rely heavily on. What we have here is examples for some of the grades. So for example, the definition of terms or parts of equations or variables, A equaling end, AO is start. So those are good phrases, but remember we're moving away from phrases after grade 9 into memory cues, etc. So take a look at that and check out what the allowables are. This is what we mean by a scaffolded program. We start out allowing quite a bit of support, and then we slowly pull the support away so that by university, when no examples are allowed, when formulas are allowed, a student is ready for that. Okay? Thank you very much for watching, and hope you enjoyed the information.